Never been much good at juggling. You guessed it, Kristofer here with another steep spiritual sustenance offering. The fact that I'm not very good at it doesn't mean that I don't try. Every day, most of the day, seems like it's filled with acts of juggling, managing the different roles and responsibilities that I have as a priest among you, as a community organizer, working with our community center, as a husband, as a father, as a sibling, as a son, as a child of God. So many different roles that we are called to play, so many different aspects of our identity, and how we keep all those things clear and front and center, how we prioritize, how, just how we manage on a day-to-day basis. It can be kind of crazy making, even when things are all going pretty well in the world. And I think most of us would agree that things aren't going very well right now. Lots of challenges for so many people. This past Sunday, you heard me preach a little bit about from Genesis. I didn't focus at all on the act of creation, in which on the seventh day God rested. We're told, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all their multitude. And on the seventh day God finished the work that he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all the work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day and hallowed it, because on it God rested from all the work that he had done in creation. Rest is something that I'm not particularly good at. Maybe you've noticed, maybe you know that same tendency in yourself. Sabbath time is challenging. Some of that is just the way that my personality is set up, like the way that I rest is a little different, the way that I get energy, the way that I learn. But some of that is just is good old-fashioned workaholicness, and just being driven to do the best that I can in everything. Of course, I fall short. We all do. That's just part of being a human being. But just that drive. Sabbath really calls us to stop and slow down, to imagine a different way, to get some perspective. I don't know if you've had any chance to read any of Walter Brueggeman's work or even hear about him, but I highly encourage you to check into him. He's got a book that's called Sabbath as Resistance. And there's just really rich material there. But one of the things that he says is that multitasking, juggling, is the drive to be more than we are, to control more than we do, to extend our power and our effectiveness. Such practice yields a divided self with full attention given to nothing. As someone who yearns for integration and wholeness, this is bad news for me. I want to be whole. I don't want to be divided in myself, in my loyalties. And yet, when you are committed to so many different things, and you love so many different people, it makes life complicated. It's hard. But that's the lot that we have. It's the lot that I have, at least. Some of you know that that my sabbatical from the congregation formerly known as Epiphany was supposed to come up several years ago, and had great conversation with the vestry after a couple of years of writing some grants, hoping to get time to travel and be away. The grants didn't work out, and things got intense in the parish, and we just decided that the best thing would be for me to extend it over 3 years. This summer is supposed to be the third and final part of that stretch of time. But how one takes a sabbatical in a pandemic, I don't know how you do that. How one takes a sabbatical in the midst of a merger when two congregations have become one. The timing is not right. And yet there is this need for rest and for reconnection and for recharging. When I set my goals about this, I thought about health and integration, and You can't really define that in any full way, but I did have some really clear goals around health in all these different areas. My family life, my physical health, my financial health, education, spiritual health, mental health, congregational health, like the health of the community. There were so many different aspects of it, and as I go through my checklist and look at those goals, like I feel like in those first 2 years, like I made great strides. It might not look like I rest very much, but the rhythms really have helped to keep me grounded and to stay recharged. I don't really like the idea of balance. I think it's so illusory. We don't really ever achieve any balance. Think of it as a balancing act. I do like rhythm though, and finding those rhythms as we seek to follow God forward during these challenging times. But I don't trust myself fully, and I know that my drivenness can really get the better of me. And the culture that we live in is even less trustworthy. I think it just drives us to production, to effectiveness, and it can be endless. It'll just take all you've got to give. And that's not what God wants. God, in all of God's power, rested. And so we're called to. Most of you know that I am in a revisioned time on retreat, on convocation with the Franciscans, preparing to take my novice vows in a couple days. But we've also just in our clergy and officers talked about just how I could take some time during this. I'll get some vacation at some point, but to do the continuing education work in addition to that, trying to take some more steps toward completing my doctorate. It's a lot going on. And in the midst of that, just not being able to be together. It's tough. And not being able to really travel, and just, it takes a lot to figure all that out, these balls up in the air. I trust God is guiding me forward, and I appreciate your prayers in this process, and I appreciate your support. I wonder what it looks like for you to take care of yourself, to make Sabbath time, and to tend to your needs, because if you don't care for yourself, you're no good to anyone else. So whether it's pondering Genesis or Walter Brueggeman or just some of my ramblings, I hope that you'll think about this. I hope you remember that even Jesus took time to rest. And so I wonder what that looks like for you. I wonder what it looks like for me. Let's keep that conversation going. Until then, God's peace be with you.